Let me ask you something. What if I told you that being a woman with no boyfriend isn't a gap, a lack, or some kind of waiting room for life to really begin? What if it's actually the most powerful, the most sacred season you could ever walk through? I know the world tries to tell you without a man by your side, you're incomplete. But listen closely, because your completeness has never depended on someone else's presence. This is your moment, the moment where you get to know who you really are when one else's expectations are clouding your vision. It's a time to reclaim your worth from the inside out, to sit in your own company and realize your value isn't measured by the length of your relationship status or the validation in someone else's eyes. It's rooted deep inside your soul, woven into every breath you take, every dream you chase, every boundary you set. You are not waiting for a man to rescue you. You are not incomplete without a boyfriend. You are whole, glorious, and fierce all on your own. This season is teaching you patience, not for someone else, but for yourself. It's teaching you self-love, respect, and the kind of strength that can't be shaken by loneliness or societal pressure. You're learning how to dance with your own dreams, how to fill your own cup, and how to walk boldly into the future without fear or apology. This is not a pause, it's a preparation for the kind of love that honors your fullness, your history, and your brilliance. So don't rush to fill your story with someone else's chapter. Write your own. Celebrate the power in your independence. Because when you stand strong in your solitude, that's when you shine the brightest. And trust me, the right love will recognize that light, not try to dim it. You are more than enough. You have always been. And this season of you will be the foundation for a life and love that is unapologetically whole. Let me tell you something that might just shift your entire perspective. Being a woman with no boyfriend does not mean something is missing. You are not walking around with a piece of you lost, waiting for a man to complete the puzzle. That's the lie the world has whispered in your ear since you were a little girl, that you're half until someone claims you. But baby, you are not a project in progress. You are not on a clearance rack waiting for someone to come along and finally see your value. You see, being single doesn't mean broken. It doesn't mean overlooked. It doesn't mean unworthy. It simply means God has chosen this moment, this exact stretch of your life for you. Not for someone else to come in and define it, but for you to step into your power without distraction. The world may try to convince you that you're falling behind, like you're watching everyone else post their love stories while you're just waiting. But you're not waiting. You're evolving. You're healing. You're being refined by the fire of solitude, and fire doesn't destroy diamonds. It reveals them sometimes. So don't you dare shrink yourself, because there's no hand holding yours right now. Don't you dare think your worth is hanging on a, hey, beautiful text. You are not in lack, you're in alignment, because a woman who walks alone is not always lonely. Sometimes she's just in divine formation. Your wholeness was never meant to come wrapped in someone else's presence. I need you to hear that deep in your spirit, because too many of us have been taught to believe that love is the thing that makes us complete. But baby, you were born complete. Before you ever gave your number to someone, before you ever sat across from a dinner table wondering if they were the one, you were already whole, already chosen, already called. See, when you tie your worth to another person's affection, you start bargaining with pieces of yourself just to feel enough. You start editing your voice, dimming your light, shrinking your dreams, just so you can fit into someone else's idea of worthy. But God didn't create you to be tolerated. He created you to be known, to be powerful, to be rooted so deeply in who you are that whether someone comes or goes, your foundation doesn't shake. This is not about arrogance. It's about truth. Because when you know that your identity is not built on who you date, but on who you are, you stop chasing validation and start walking in purpose. And there's a confidence in that, a quiet, unstoppable fire that says, I don't need to be chosen to know I'm valuable. I am the prize with or without the applause. This moment right here, this season where it's just you, this is not a pause. This isn't some spiritual waiting room where you sit in silence until God decides to call your number and send a man your way. No, sis, this is movement. This is divine alignment. This is preparation disguised as stillness. Because even when it looks like nothing is happening on the outside, heaven is moving things on your behalf behind the scenes. Not stuck. You're not delayed. You're not forgotten. You are being prepared. Prepared to walk into rooms you didn't even know were being built with your name on them. Prepared to carry blessings that require strong hands and an even stronger spirit. Prepared to stand in Lum Day without losing yourself in it. That's what this season is about. Building you so that when love shows up, it finds you rooted, not reaching. I know it's tempting to treat this season like a countdown clock, to measure your worth by timelines and compare your journey to someone else's highlight reel. But God doesn't need a deadline. He's crafting a destiny, and every moment you spend becoming, healing, growing, and stretching is not wasted time. It's sacred time. This season is not a holding pattern. It's the launching pad. And when you finally take off, you'll realize you didn't miss a thing. You were just getting ready to soar. You cannot ask someone to love you in a way you haven't learned to love yourself. That's the truth. See, we want a love that sees us, honors us, chooses us. But how can someone else give you what you won't even give to your own reflection? This season, this space with no boyfriend, it's not empty. It's intentional. It's giving you time to turn inward, to look in the mirror and say, I am worth being loved gently, fiercely, and fully. Starting with me, self-love isn't just bubble baths and cute quotes. It's war sometimes. It's waking up and choosing to believe you matter when the world says you don't. It's refusing to settle when loneliness tries to whisper lies in your ear. It's holding your own heart and saying, I got you, girl, even when no one else shows up. That kind of love, it's deep, it's healing, and it creates boundaries so bold that only the right kind of love can cross them. You're not hard to love. You've just outgrown the kind of love that requires you to shrink. So you're learning now, you're loving yourself now, and the way you treat you, that sets the tone for every relationship after this. Because when you love you right, you don't chase love. You attract it, the healed, whole, God-ordained kind, and you'll recognize it, not because it completes you, but because it matches the love you already gave yourself. There's a strength that's born in solitude that no crowd, no applause, no relationship can ever teach you. It's the kind of strength that forms when it's just you, your silence, your thoughts, and God. That space where no one's calling your phone, no one's sliding into your messages, no one's asking, what are we? And instead of feeling empty, you begin to feel something rising inside of you, a voice, a power, a presence you forgot was yours. That's not loneliness. That's sacred ground. That's where your true strength is built. Because when you walk through life without a boyfriend, people will assume you're lonely. They'll assume you're incomplete. But what they don't see is the spiritual training happening in the background. You're not just sitting around wishing somebody would show up. You're standing in the fire and realizing it's not consuming you. It's refining you. You're learning how to pray deeper, think clearer, walk straighter. You're learning how to depend on God in a way that no human could ever replace. And that kind of intimacy with your creator, that's power. See, there are things you will only discover when you're alone. There are gifts in you that silence will unlock. There is healing in you that only your own hands can reach. And if you're brave enough to sit in that stillness, not rush out of it, not numb it with distractions, you'll find out that you are more than just okay. You're solid. You're fire tested. You're a woman who doesn't need to be held to feel secure because you already learned how to hold yourself. That kind of strength doesn't just show up in love. It shows up in purpose. It shows up when doors close and you don't panic. It shows up when people leave and you don't break. It shows up when life hits hard and instead of falling apart, you rise. That doesn't come from being validated by someone else. That comes from walking through a valley and learning that you and God together are still the majority. So no, you're not fragile. You're fortified. And when love does show up, and yes, the right love will show up, it won't be to rescue you. It'll be to witness you, to witness the strength, the healing, the beauty that was built in the quiet when no one else was watching. Because the woman who has learned how to stand alone can never be knocked over by temporary affection. You don't have to live your life stuck in someone else's narrative of who you should be. You don't have to shrink your voice to fit the mold of a woman who looks successful. Only if she's got a man on her arm. That's not your truth. That's not your story. You get to define that. You get to decide what wholeness looks like, what joy feels like, what a fulfilled life really means. You, not society. Not your auntie's questions at family dinners, not the late night scroll through everyone else's highlight reels. Because if we're honest, too many women are living out a story they never even wrote. They're chasing timelines they never agreed to, trying to meet standards that don't even reflect their values. We've been told since we were little girls that the happily ever after starts when he shows up. But baby, some of us are the fairy tale. We are the plot twist. We are the answer to the question that someone else thought needed fixing. When you start defining your own narrative, you start taking back your power. You stop looking at your singleness as a curse and start seeing it as clarity. You stop seeing your relationship status as your identity and start discovering who you are without the noise. You start building a life that doesn't need to be paused, edited, or downplayed just to make someone else comfortable. And let me tell you, when you write your own story, you begin to honor the parts of you that were overlooked, undervalued, or misunderstood. You stop apologizing for dreaming big, for laughing loud, for wanting more than just a wedding. You stop settling for people who want your presence but can't handle your purpose. That's what this season is doing for you. It's inviting you to be the author again, to write with boldness, to live with intention, to create a story so rich with love, power, purpose, and authenticity that whether a man comes or not, your life is still full, not because you're anti-love, but because you know love should add, not define. So don't sit around waiting for someone to write you in. You are already the main character. You are already the plot. And the woman who writes her own narrative doesn't beg for a role in someone else's story. She walks in the authority of her own. And trust me, that kind of woman, she's unstoppable. There's a kind of glow that doesn't come from a filter, from attention, or from someone telling you're beautiful. It comes from being rooted in who you are, rooted in whose you are, rooted in the truth that your worth doesn't waver just because someone didn't choose you. When a woman becomes grounded in her identity, when she knows that her value isn't up for negotiation, that's when she begins to radiate a different kind of light, a light that can't be dimmed by rejection, can't be shaken by loneliness, can't be confused by temporary affection. You start to walk different, not because you think you're better, but because you finally know you're worthy. You're no longer seeking validation. You're walking in revelation. And it shows in how you speak to yourself. It shows in what you say, yes, too. It shows in what you refuse to accept ever again. That's what happens when you stop needing someone else to see your beauty before you believe it's there. People will look at you and wonder what changed. They'll ask what you've been doing, and the answer won't be a new wardrobe or a gym routine. It'll be this: I stopped waiting to be chosen, and I chose myself. I stopped begging for love and started becoming love. I stopped editing myself just to be palatable, and I started showing up as my whole healed, authentic self. And when you show up like that, you don't just shine, you shift the atmosphere. You see, there's something powerful about a woman who's rooted. She doesn't need to perform. She doesn't need to convince. She doesn't need to settle. Her presence speaks before her mouth ever does. And it's not pride. It's peace. It's not ego. It's evidence. Evidence of the inner work, the healing, the quiet nights when she cried but didn't quit. Evidence of the strength built in silence, of the glow that comes not from being loved by a man, but from being loved by God, and finally loving herself back. So when she walks in the room, she doesn't have to compete. She's not looking around to see if she measures up. She knows she belongs because she's rooted in anything that tries to pull her out of that truth. It doesn't stand a chance. The light she carries wasn't borrowed. It was built. Brick by brick, prayer by prayer, boundary by boundary. And that kind of light is unstoppable. Love that's meant for you isn't coming to fix what's broken. It's coming to celebrate what's already whole. Too often, we get caught up believing that a relationship will complete us, like someone else's love is the missing puzzle piece that makes us okay. But the truth is, the right love doesn't walk into your life and say, here, let me put you back together. No, it steps into the fullness you've already built and says, I see you. I see all you are. And I'm here to walk beside you, not to finish your story, but add to it. When you've spent time walking alone, learning to love yourself through every season, you start to recognize the difference between love that needs and love that gives. The right love is not desperate. It's deliberate. It's not needy. It's nourishing. It doesn't demand you lower your standards or dim your light. Instead, it meets you where you are, fully aware of your worth, and still chooses to celebrate it. This is